Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host Raghunath and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Walk on Wednesday, everybody. It's the Srimad Bhagavatam's Walk on Wednesday. On Wednesday, we take a person that we love. We poke them around for 3 minutes, have them tell their story. Today, we've got a regular old school local. Before we were even Wisdom of the Sages, we were called the Super Soul Sacred Sangha. And he was a regular listener, and he joined us as we turned over to Wisdom of the Sages. Maybe has never missed a class, maybe. And so, live, right? So please welcome Bhakta Louie. I wish we had a clap track right now. Justin's clapping. Mara's eyes light up. Good morning, Prabhu. How are you?
All glories to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Bhakta Louie.
Go ahead,
I was just going to introduce, Bhakta Louie's from one of the original, even before I was in the band, original Krishna bands in New York City. Back in the days when most of these bands didn't have records out, they had this record called, and a really great record. It was just only a 7-inch. Back in the old days, you put out a 7-inch, what most of us would call a single in the 80s and 70s. But the songs were so short. There's a picture of it right there, Antidote, and you could see it's called Thou Shalt Not Kill, and there's a picture of a man cutting off the head of a cow, but the cow's got a human face. And the man has a cow's face.
Karma, flipping it.
It's like the law of karma. And so that was like an introduction for me into Bhakti. And so I was just saying, that scene back then, especially before the straight edge days in New York was just filled with drugs and darkness and insanity and violence. How did that dark place, how did you go into that ghetto and pull out a diamond? Do you want to share something?
Well, it's good that you put it into that perspective, brother. Because you know what? We couldn't get much more darker than the Lower East Side in 1982. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, we could hear you. We're just listening attentively, that's all.
So that, that being said, I had no choice but to crawl into a dark tunnel just to get up under the river and crawl back out of a dark tunnel, cross a dark street called 8th Street, come across east, travel east because, I get off at 9th Street on the west side and 6th Avenue. And it was still just like this dark kind of portal as you travel east, right?
Got darker and darker and darker.
Yeah, and as you cross 5th Avenue, you started, migrating across like 1st and 2nd Avenue. Yeah, it just kind of just all led down into Avenue A. And at the base of St. Mark's and Avenue A, there's a park right there called Thompson Square Park. I mean, I found myself working below Canal Street even before the hardcore era really kind of surfaced and reared its head. I was working in nightclubs and kind of like, just venturing off into those dark kind of hours when I should have really been kind of worshiping something else. But, we've been really touching on a few subjects here that like kind of really connect with my day-to-day routine. It's really odd. You guys have been talking lately on the subject of, yesterday you were talking about, how Brahma is laying in this pool of water and he's engulfed in this terrarium sort of thing. But I'm believing that those are the universes that he's kind of engulfed in, if I'm correct, And, I look back and I say to myself, I come from this dark, dark place where, the only thing that you could get from that is, your material senses. I was telling somebody yesterday, as a matter of fact, she's a member of our group that I do study with twice a week, Bhagavatam. Her name is Julie Blondina.
Jules?
I was telling her a story about, me recently. I just feel like half of my body right now wants to throw this all away. Just renunciate this, I'm done with it, you know what I mean? And then the other half of my body, I'm still struggling with the material, the material illusion, the sense gratifications, and I'm trying to find the common ground, but there's this tug of war going because now, for some reason, I get dragged back into this.
Yeah, you've been called upon to sing for the band again? That's what's going on?
Yeah, it seems like I had a 30-year layoff, I guess.
Right.
But that being said, yeah, I've been making preparations to get out there and hopefully do a little good work like Shelter does. I don't think we'll be able to burn as much incense like they do before a show, but I'm gonna try to hopefully get a few more souls to like change their lenses. With that being said, Prabhu, coming from a dark tunnel and leading into a dark place, there was just really, unbeknownst to us because we're blind, like, we're still kind of like conditioned to not realize that we're suffering from suffrage, right? Constantly in the material illusion. Krishna's there. Yeah, he's there because he's controlling that too, right?
Mm-mm.
He's all merciful like that, You want to enjoy that? Go ahead. I'll let you get all that you need, but you should be over here getting all of this. But that being said, little did we know, little did anybody know, there was something in that park that was just drawing us there like magnets.
And what was that?
That's Prabhupada's tree.
Yeah, that's right. Srila Prabhupada
That was it.
He began the Bhakti movement in the Western world, really in that park under that tree, and somehow we wandered right into that scene, and it was life transforming.
Go ahead.
It's like the potency of a holy place.
Brother, unbeknownst to us, man, his mercy is just pouring out of that tree to everybody that's in that park every day, and they have no clue how lucky they are. That's
it's called Agyata Sukriti. It's like you're getting some benefit you don't even know about it.
Thank you, brother, because I try, I'm thankful to this Bhagavatam classes because before this, man, I couldn't really like that story about the boar coming out of his nose. That was something I would be like, I would close a book because that was something that I couldn't wrap my head around. The subtleness of the senior educator and the subtle beauty of our instructor. I'm able to absorb some of this a little better.
That's why we love Bhakta Louie.
It's a big heart.
He's a repeated guest on our show.
We've said many times how much Louie means to us because he was one of the original people that connected the world that we were living in, which was the New York hardcore scene, to the Bhakti path. And so that was going back, I don't know how many years it was, like 40 years ago or something like that, nearly
About
now.
38 years.
Yeah. And but so it means a lot to us to see you tuning in every day, and it kind of brightens up our day every time we see you, Louie. So thanks so much for being our regular here.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for, your humble, kind gestures. And, I just feel like I'm not worthy sometimes, but you guys kind of let me know that I do have a purpose in this world, and that is chanting the holy name and, just doing what I can to be a servant to his devotees. You know what I mean? So that's all I could do. That's all I could do right now to make him happy is just service, humble service. That's it.
I tell you, Louie's sincerity is why we repeatedly ask him to come on our walk on Wednesdays. And in the Super Soul Sacred Sangha days, we'd always just like unmute him all the time because, you wear your heart on your sleeve. And I think in Bhakti, it means a lot more than being a pundit, like a Sanskrit scholar, travel to all the holy places, chant 64 rounds. The fact that you can cry for Krishna on a regular basis. I actually just contacted him like 5 minutes ago. I said, listen, we're going to keep it short. You're going to get in there. You're going to tell who got you into Bhakti. Instead, Louie just goes, and it always happens. He gets into a very long-winded thing. It just keeps on going. I have to reel him in. But, the way you do it is you touch everybody's heart with your sincerity, and it's beautiful. Thank you so much.
I owe this all to you guys. You guys brought me out of that dark tunnel again and showed me some light. And, I can't thank you guys enough, man. Thank you so much. I love you.
Love you.
Love you, Louie.
Louie nourished us. Louie nourished us.
You guys are nursing me now. You know what I mean? It's a give and take right now, man. What could I do other than just surrender at your dusty little feet and get a little dust there? You know what I mean?
My dusty little feet. You got to come upstate. I got some cow dung on that feet.
Yeah, brother. I'm all in.
Let's dive into the nectar pot, Mr. Kaustubha.
All right.
Namaste. Okay. What's my verse?
Narayanam
namaskrityam naram chaiva narotamam devam saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated in loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Alrighty. Thank you, Louie. Thank you, Kaustubha. Thank you, Mara. Good morning, Mara. I didn't say good morning to Mara yet.
Yeah,
good morning.
Mara made me lunch yesterday. You know that, Kaustubha?
What'd she make?
I didn't come over for lunch. I came over to drop something off, and then I got caught in a phone call, and then she just sat down a really nice little lunch next to me.
What was it? What did it consist of?
It was like Mediterranean.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was a general description.
Falafel, hummus.
Oh, nice. See?
Yeah, little baba ganoush topping up.
Little baba ganoush.
Yeah.
All right, baba ganoush.
Gluten-free wrap thing.
Oh, that was gluten-free. Good. I was eating it being like, oh, why did she give me this gluten? I didn't even realize.
She's looking out for you, Raghu. You don't realize how much Mara's looking out for you.
I don't. It was nice to see Mara. I saw Bobby yesterday. I saw Gopal Chandra yesterday. I was basically around devotees also. Justin yesterday.
Look at that.
Around devotees all day yesterday.
It was a smoking hot day. Was it so hot up there? It was like city was like on fire.
Yeah. It was hot. Then we had this crazy lightning storm twice.
That probably helped.
Yeah, now it's cool.
All right, we diving in now. You ready?
Yep. Can of 3.
Canon
No.
3.
Canon 3, chapter
13.
Yeah.
Text number, Mara? 31? I think we're 31, right?
Let me see. I thought we finished at 20. Thought we were on 28, but you could be correct.
Oh, you might be right. You might be
By the
right
way,
there.
we're doing another Sweet Baby Krishna tonight. We're on a Sweet Baby Krishna roll 3 days in a row.
Nice.
But
Oh,
that's
do
all.
we have anything that we need to mention about the weekend while we're at it? Is that-
Yeah, the weekend screwed up because I'm going to the Jersey Shore, so there's no show Saturday, but Sunday we're doing Q&A day. Q&A day Sunday at 8 to 9 regular time.
Okay.
Also, Madhu is going to offer a Basics of Kirtan workshop on Patreon for our members there on Friday evening at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So I'll post the details on Patreon.
Join that Patreon party, people. There's always a party going on in Patreon. Tonight was our Sweet Baby Christians. We've had like 40 people, Kaustubha.
That's awesome.
Yesterday was real. It was real grave. You know, you think you're going to read Sweet Baby Krishna, and they bust into this whole thing about like the verses, not even the purports about animal slaughter. You know that part in the Yamal Arjuna trees where they glorify poverty. It goes verses and verses glorifying the benefits of poverty, and then it just starts railing on those who slaughter animals and just for their bodily sense gratification. It was more of like these verses dealing with the sons of Kuvera.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know, Kuvera is the treasurer of the demigod, so he's incredibly wealthy. And he has these two prodigal sons, and they're just bad boys. There's like when you give the kid, you think you're taking care of your kid, so you get him the new Mustang, and you give him lots of money to spend on your own credit card, and then they just buy cocaine, they wreck their car, they get put in jail in their teenage years. You think you're helping your
all
kids.
the sadhus, right?
Disrespecting the sadhus in the Ganga. Come on.
They're in the
Anyway, they got
Ganga?
cursed.
Was it in the Ganga?
They got cursed to stand as a tree.
Yeah.
I wonder if they were conscious of it, like in the tree, like help.
You're really bent on this tree people being stuck.
I think it'd be more problematic if they actually knew they were not these trees,
Yeah.
and they're caught in the tree. Could be painful
Yeah. They were suffering.
mentally.
All right. So that story continues tonight. Sweet Baby Krishna.
Yeah. 8:30. Okay.
All right. We
So
gotta
I'm
figure
sorry.
out who is Instagram Sweet Baby Krishna at Sweet Baby Krishna. Who is
Someone took Sweet Baby Krishna. Damn.
that? You should be happy that Sweet Baby Krishna. Maybe Sweet Baby Krishna. You don't know.
It's my competition.
All
All right.
right.
What's our verse?
So we read text 27. Now, what's happening now? We had a discussion yesterday, right, where and Bhakta Louie was kind of alluding or speaking about it, earlier. But somehow, right, Krishna has decided. We've been reading about the Purusha avatars. There's different types of different categories of avatars. The idea is that there's only one God. When you get to, people commonly think like when you get to Hinduism or whatever, it's like there's so many gods.
33 million demigods.
33 million different. They have different things they say, but actually, when you get to the devotional or Vaishnava understanding of Vedanta, or what's presented is that ultimately there's only one God, but that God manifests in many different ways.
Right.
And so some of those ways that he manifests are called avatars, and those sometimes we might say incarnations. He appears in different forms, and they categorize. The different sages that like study him. They want to know all the details about him, how he manifests. They categorize these avatars, into different categories. So some of that, like we've been reading a lot up to this point in the book about what's called the Purusha avatars, which is those are avatars. They don't exist it's forms of Krishna that don't exist in the spiritual realm. They come into the material realm to set things up, and that's different forms of Lord Vishnu. They're taking care of the business of running the material world and running the universes, and then accompanying every living being in the material world. So that's like the network that kind of spreads out throughout the material world to make sure it's all running right. Now now we get the appearance of a different form. Krishna comes in a form, and this form is like, to our material minds and our material conditioning, it's like, what are you talking about? He comes in the form of like a wild boar, right? And the form manifests like it sounds still more bizarre, right? He just, we always say out of the nose or the nostril, but I think it sounds better if we just say out of the breath, right? Like Brahma just breathed him without any effort, and I think that has something to do with it, right? He was trying to figure out, there was a problem. The earth was like submerged deep down in the water. Brahma was trying to figure out, how do I fix this? But he couldn't. And this says something about our own lives, right? Where like sometimes, we don't have the solution, but we just kind of have to like step back and like God, let him enter into our life, let him, enter into our minds, enter into our circumstance. So when Brahma's, about ready to give up, just through his breath, this form of Krishna appears. But now we're talking about a different category. It's called Leela Avatar. And Leela Avatar means divine play. He's really just having fun. But he's kind of like, playing the hero here, right? And he's come in a form, wild form, right? But that's designed to like pick stuff up from when things are like kind of down in the gutter. And that's the form of a boar. And people that see boars, they do this, right? They get the snout. They get it right down there. They start dragging stuff up.
Yeah. Kaustubha, I had a complaint about this pastime when I was young.
I have a complaint.
Your eyebrows went up. I've got a complaint about this Leela, Yasadeva. Well, it was sort of like, can't we just worship God? Why is this so complicated? You got a boar. You got like this demigod Brahma. You got other gods. You got many avatars of God. Can't I just pray to God? What do you think? That was a reasonable complaint. I got a good answer from an older devotee when I was a young devotee. He said, you have the most sophisticated theology you're ever going to hear about.
Right.
What makes you think it's going to be simple? For example, you can just look, you can just say, you know what? Just pray to Krishna. You can keep it simple. If you want it simple, you keep it simple. You like it simple, just be simple. But if you want to go deep, we got that too. For example, you want to tell time, you just look at your watch. You want to learn how to build the clock, then you can take apart that. You can go to a watch school with a fine Swiss watchmaker and take all the little parts with tiny little instruments and tools to take that thing apart. So what we're doing now is we're diving into something more like really refined. We're understanding versions of God, different avatars of the same being. It's sophisticated because it's sophisticated.
Yeah,
we're dealing with God. This is more than a Rolex watch. This is God. Of course, it's going to be detailed.
There you go.
But you want to pray? You just pray. You pray to Krishna.
And he's going to appear in different ways for different people at different times under different circumstances, right? Because what we're going to read about now is the Earth planet was sunk down to the bottom of the universe, which was covered with water. But there are these sages, and they're existing on the higher planets that aren't submerged, and they witness this form of Vishnu flying around, right? Like, in this very unique, dynamic, far out form. And they begin to offer their prayers. But they offer prayers from their own perspective, which is interesting. And so it is a fact, in Sweet Baby Krishna, I don't know if you've ever covered this, but when Krishna enters the wrestling arena, there's a famous story, right?
Yeah, great story.
He, as a young man, he leaves Vrindavan. He goes to Mathura, like the city. And there he's kind of drawn into like this wrestling arena where Kamsa, the evil ruler, is kind of setting him up, right? He's kind of like setting him up to get beat down and killed by these like massive wrestlers. And Krishna and his brother Balaram are kind of like, they're like young boys. They look like tender young men, right? But and these wrestlers, they have to fight like these massive, super like strong guys. But it said that when anyway, long story. I won't. No spoilers. Right, but when Krishna, enters
Krishna
in-
kills the demons.
Krishna kills him. But when he's entering into that like stadium, it describes how different people saw him. That this one, there is only one God, but he appears in different ways according to the hearts and according to how people see him. He appears in different ways, and right now he's appearing in a very far out way as this boar.
Boar, which is not even the most cuddly animal whatsoever. No one looks at a boar and says, "Let's cuddle that boar."
He's not here to be cuddled.
It's not like Lord Bunny Rabbit is appearing out of the nostril of Brahma. It's Lord Boar.
He takes the form that's appropriate for the circumstance. And there's another interesting thing here, Raghunath. You've probably heard this before, but what we haven't read this whole pastime yet. We're just getting started. But two things that Varaha, the boar incarnation, does. One is that he lifts the earth out of the water, and therefore that boar form is appropriate. But there's another thing that he does, is he's going to fight the demon Hiranyaksha. Right? Now these two things actually happen at two separate times, like two separate manvantaras, right? Like,
oh wow,
they're separated by many thousands of years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But it's said that Maitreya kind of combined the two stories together, kind of put them together. So he's got a far out form. He didn't come to be cuddled in this form. He came on one hand to lift the earth out of the water, and the second reason he came in this form was to fight. So those boars, they fight, right? That's a fighting creature.
It's
right?
a fighting creature, sure.
And so he came in a form to fight, not to cuddle. He's got cuddly forms too, and that's your favorite.
Yeah, sweet baby boar.
Little Bala Varaha. That's what you're being. So can I at least have the baby boar?
Little baby horns. Ow.
Little tusks. Even before the tusks grow out, right? That's how you want to see him. That's the point. He'll appear in just that form for you if that's what you want, Raghunath. Right? All right. So the last verse text? we read 27, which again, like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, this important commentator on Bhagavatam, he said this is like a meditation. Like you can,
that's right.
You can, in your mind, you can picture this. So that was text 27. Why don't you just start there, text 27.
27. Okay. Before entering the water to rescue the earth, the Lord Boar flew into the sky, slashing his tail, his hard hairs quivering. His very glance was luminous, and he scattered the clouds in the sky with his hooves and his glittering white tusks. He was personally the Supreme Lord Vishnu and therefore transcendental, yet because he had the body of a hog, he searched after the earth by smell, right? Sniffing around, right? His tusks were fearful, and he glanced over the devotee brahmanas engaged in offering prayers. Thus, he entered the water.
Give a little glance.
Glanced over the brahmanas, give them a little love.
With their folded palms, like in wonder. He's looking down, appreciating.
They were charmed.
Yeah.
Diving into, I wonder if they were charmed by Lord Boar.
Well, you're going to hear.
Fearful?
I think their mood is more like reverence.
Okay. Yeah. Diving into the water like a giant mountain, Lord Boar dived into the middle of the ocean, and two high waves appeared as the arms of the ocean, which cried loudly as if praying to the Lord, "O Lord of sacrifices, please do not cut me in two. Kindly give me protection." Is the ocean saying that? Mm-hmm. Lord Boar penetrated the water with his hooves, which were like sharp arrows, and found the limits of the ocean, although it was unlimited. He saw the earth, the resting place for all living beings, lying as it was in the beginning of creation, and he personally lifted it. Lord Boar very easily took the earth on his tusks and got it out of the water. Thus he appeared very splendid. Then his anger glowing like the Sudarshan wheel, he immediately killed the demon Hiranyaksha, although he tried to fight with the Lord. Okay. It's amazing. Yeah. We're reading this like most bizarre, fantastic story you could ever even imagine. Mm-hmm. And my brain, just because I've been trained in Bhakti, is like, yeah, this happened. Like, I'm not even questioning. I've crossed that threshold where I completely accept this is real, because we've been trained to understand we don't know anything, we can't perceive things, so why can't it be true? Whereas a previous incarnation of myself would have been crazy fantasy story, psycho fantasy, old myth. Where's the lesson? But now I'm yeah, sure, this happened. The universe in some other dimension, of course.
He's drunk the Kool-Aid. There's having more of it right now.
He's having more of it. Keep it going, Bhakta Justin. Feed me that Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
All righty. Continuing on. What is it, 32?
Well, we just read about Hiranyaksha, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 31.
Thereupon, Lord Boar killed the demon within the water. So Hiranyaksha, do you remember who he was? He was Jai. He's one of the Jai and Vijay who got cursed.
Well, yeah, that story will be told coming up soon in the 3rd canto.
Okay. Thereupon, Lord Boar killed the demon within the water, just as a lion kills an elephant. Excuse me. The cheeks and the tongue of the Lord became smeared with the blood of the demon, just as an elephant becomes reddish from digging in the purple earth. Then the Lord, playing like an elephant, surrounded the earth on the edge of his curved white tusks. He assumed a bluish complexion like that of a tamal tree, and thus the sages, headed by Brahma, could understand him to be the supreme personality of Godhead and offered respectful obeisances unto the Lord.
I mean, it's interesting, this is the Leela part where he was meant to fight this demon who was really just trying to make life miserable for everyone, right? Out of his own egotistical, out of his arrogance and so on. And so he said, I'm going to take you out, but I'm going to do it in the form of a boar. He came in other words, what's the last way you'd want to get killed? I mean, that's for a lot of people would be yeah, that would be pretty, fearsome, way
I
to
could
go.
probably think of 10 more that's pretty worse, but
it's a pretty bad,
being killed by a boar might be in the top 100. I'd say.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of ways. There's a lot of horrible ways to die.
There's a lot of ways to go, but imagine a big wild boar just storm. You see those things run; they run really fast.
I've seen them. I've seen them in real life.
Yeah, imagine that thing running straight at you. It's got its sharp tusks, and it's and you're suddenly your whole ego trip is ruined. It's real quick.
You're about to be killed by a boar.
Yeah, you're thinking I'm this important person. I don't care about anybody else, and I'm beautiful, I'm powerful, and then you got this boar coming straight at you. It snaps you right out of that ego trip, All right.
Yeah, and for the devotees, that's part of the beauty. Our ego gets destroyed.
Yeah, that's right.
If we don't surrender that ego, to offer that ego back to Krishna, then he arranges that the material universe or dismantles it for us.
There you go.
There's got to be a nectar nugget in that, Mara. Dismantling, the blessed, sacred dismantling of our ego.
Maybe there's a name for a band in there too. From
Sacred
Dayton, Ohio.
We're sacred ego dismantler.
We're dismantler. From Dayton, Ohio.
All right. 34?
Yeah.
Okay. All the sages uttered with great
respect. 34 or 33?
Yeah, 34.
Okay.
All the sages uttered with great respect, O conquerable enjoyer of sacrifices, all glories and all victories to you. That must be Jai. You are moving in your form of the personified Vedas, and in the hair holes of your body, the oceans are submerged. For certain results to uplift the earth, you have now assumed the form of a boar.
Okay, so these are the sages, right, on the higher planets. These are the most intelligent, sober, meditative people that you can imagine, right? They're wise, they're learned, their senses are under control. They have knowledge about the universe, knowledge about God, knowledge about the material world. They're very deep in their understanding. So they see this boar, and they say, for certain reasons, you have now assumed this particular form. We get it, right? Other people may not get it. Raghunath, as a young man, may have had trouble wrapping his head around this, but
couldn't get it. Couldn't get it.
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Now you get it.
So the boar.
Yeah. So he's saying, you're unconquerable. You're the enjoyer of all sacrifices, and that phrase right there, it's going to play out in the rest of their prayers here. And this kind of goes back to like what I said earlier, like when Krishna's entering that wrestling arena, and everybody sees him in a different way. It was said that how did the different people see him? Do you remember when he was entering?
When he entered the wrestling arena?
Yeah, like there were some of the residents of Vrindavan were there, and they were just like, oh,
they saw him as the greatest lover.
Not the residents of Vrindavan.
And the yogis saw him as the Paramatma.
The yogis saw him as the Paramatma. They saw him as the form of Lord Vishnu. The residents of Vrindavan are like, they just had this kind of like paternal affection for him, right? But the girls of Mathura, they saw him as like more beautiful than like Cupid, right? Like he was just like totally like seductive, like just, so gorgeous. And,
Kamsa saw him as death personified.
So everybody's seeing him in a different way. Now, these sages, what do they do on those higher planets? They're engaged in different types of ritual. And that ritual is keeping their consciousness and keeping their minds just focused on reality, focused on God and focused on reality. They're used to performing yagna. They're used to performing these rituals that keep their focus. So when they see him, they say, you're the enjoyer of all sacrifice, right? You're the person. We get it. This is a form of a boar, but we understand that you're the one that we're making our offerings to all along. Right, that's who you are. We get it. We tied it all in together, and so as they begin to offer their prayers, they're going to speak a lot about sacrifice.
It's amazing how the Bhakti Yoga culture and the 12-step culture, it's all about sense regulation and sense control to find some inner joy. It's all about, like, you can't even have real life, experience real life without controlling your senses.
Right.
You can't have real intelligence because your intelligence has been carjacked by your lower passions. Right? You can't drive in a straight line. Once you've been carjacked, you're driving all over the road. So it's like then this, once you control those senses, it opens your whole life up to an inner world. When you talked about the sages and the higher planets, like their whole thing is like real refined sense control to experience, internal connection. And when you think about this world, everybody's sort of just like driving all over the place, driving over the guardrails, swerving into other lanes. But it's really about this pulling everything in so we can create an inner life. And the material world, as it gets more and more sophisticated, pushes us away into danger zones, to cliffs, to ledges with our senses. It's making it's indulgence in everything. And because of that, we've lost touch with an inner self, an inner peace, an inner world.
It's such a good point, Rogi. It's just like even in our own limited sphere, like we see, like there's different grades of, I don't know, sensual engagement. Like some people are into like reality television, right? Like they just watch it all day, right? And some people say, my God, reality television is like the most. Like, you actually watch this stuff? Like, or you like to watch like Jerry Springer? It's just like, what has
no one feels good after watching Jerry Springer. Like, what have I done for an hour?
They keep tuning into it, right? It's just like, for people that don't know, it's just like these ridiculous television shows where like they set up people to like just argue with each other over,
like, let's bring on your ex-husband that cheated on you.
Let's all boo. Yeah, and like the whole audience is like booing, and the woman is yelling at him, and he's like, it's all a lie. It's just like, this is what you like derive your enjoyment from. It's like so crude, right? Then there are people that are like more refined than that control their senses more than that, and they're like, I would never watch that. I have no interest in that kind of thing. I'm more interested in, and then whatever it might be, like a higher grade of television, some drama that has some kind of finer, meaning in it, and and better acting, and direction, and cinematography that's like on a higher level, that's more refined. That I can watch that. And then there's other people like, even that, it's like, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in something still higher. Now you have these sages on these higher planets. They're like super refined people, right? They're not. They have no interest in any of the kind of garbage that we're interested in. Their minds are absorbed. Here again, when they see this boar, the two things they say, look right off the bat: you're the enjoyer of the sacrifice, of all sacrifices, And it says that your form is the form of the personified Vedas. This is what their minds are absorbed in. Reading these sacred texts, that are really the keys to the universe, right? Like how the universe operates. Like they're plugged into that. And then what those books say is they deal with the nature of the self, that our happiness and our our truth really is that by nature we're designed to serve, and that happiness is found through service, and peace is found through service, and joy is found through service. So they're plugged into that world, and when they see that boar, they could feel it, they can sense it. You're the one that we're offering to the sacrifices. You're that being that's all powerful. You're that being that supports us. You're the only one. Even Brahma himself was incapable of pulling the earth out of the water. You've appeared in a unique form to do it. We know who you are, and you're the form of the personified Vedas. Those books, those texts that communicate to us. We know it's not just a book. We know it's a person that's communicating with us. You are that person. They get it.
Yeah, it's good. I was thinking like, as far as like the sense enjoyment and living in that second reality, it's not just the TV shows. Now it's like the bigger than ever is gaming. Gaming is like I don't even know anything about gaming. I know nothing about Justin still games. He said a little bit. No more now that he's. But he's like, no, I don't anymore. But gaming's like such a part of society now. Like kids are into gaming. And you get lost in these second worlds. We're already in a fake world. We're going to create a third Maya.
Dream within
and then
the
you know
dream.
what's going to. And you know
Within
what's
the dream.
You know what's always on the cutting edge of all this stuff?
What?
Pornography.
Oh,
This whole artificial intelligence with pornography. It's going to be people are going to be living, especially men.
Raghunath's dystopia with like the future world.
They're going to be living in this horrible thing, and the real crime is it cements you. It like rubber cements you to your body, where you can find yourself through your senses, and it's an illusion. You can't. It's pulling you more and more out into this world and cheating you out of the highest reality.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
It's
a problem.
And the point is, we use these things to degrade ourselves, right? Like these things could be used, like we don't need these things, but they could be designed in such a way to uplift us rather than to drag us down. I remember once, when I first moved back to New York, like after, being a brahmachari for so many years, and I had this part-time job, which was cooking for wonderful devotees, like they were David Dritta Prabhu. You know David Dritta, the boss? The boss? You never met David? Oh, I can't believe you never met him. But it was a few devotees that they ran a business out of their apartment, and they wanted like a Brahmin to cook their prasadam lunch for them, So I just cooked.
How nice.
Yeah, I would just cook for them, every day, and that was that kind of gave me a foothold to get back into the city. It gave me a job that I could do.
Right.
And
it's hard coming out of that ashram. Like, what do I do?
Well, what do I do?
What do I do? All I know how to do is puja.
Yeah.
Anybody need any pujas done?
So in the apartment they had these video games, and at first they had this video game that was like it was like a baseball game, and you play the baseball game, and it's kind of relatively realistic. I think that it was like all the real players and their statistics were kind of like computed into the game, and
Kaustubha, it's so much more real than that now.
Yeah, I'm sure. And that was like innocent enough, It's certainly a waste of time. I played it a bit with them, It's like, but it was cool, whatever. But then they got that game, Grand Theft Auto. Oh my God, it was like, hold it, And the guys started getting. It was like, actually, it's not even funny. It's like you get points, like you're driving around in a car,
killing
people. Not only killing
prostitution
people,
or something.
Yeah, like if you run your car over a prostitute, you get extra points. It was things like that. It was like just really sick stuff.
Mara, tell them the Grand Theft Auto story I tell.
That your band wanted.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We got offered to be on Grand Theft Auto.
Turn it down.
Turn it down.
On principle, right? I like that.
On principle.
So in other words, because it was.
They're like, oh yeah, how about $40,000? Okay, I'll do it. How much can he be purchased for?
Everyone has their price. Yeah. But they wanted it for like background music. They wanted one of your songs. What kind of sick music are you making? What song did they want? Message of the
They
Bhagavad?
wanted
You should have
some,
let
like,
them use it. It probably would have been
They
a good
did
thing.
a New York hardcore one, I think.
It was Youth of Today or was
Youth of Today. It was Youth of Today.
What was the song?
I can't remember.
I mean, it probably would have been uplifting for them to put your song in there. Maybe you should have let them do it.
Yeah, I blew it.
You weren't thinking straight. Yeah, but it's sick. You're right. It's like, in other words, because we've grown up with, you start going down that road, it just gets sicker and sicker and sicker, right? It's like, this is how we want to spend our time, like fantasizing about this kind of sick stuff, you know? So these sages,
sometimes
they're in a different place.
In
We
all
gotta hear
honesty,
from them.
sometimes I can get caught up in these
Well,
animal
okay.
attack videos.
Well, that's nature. I mean, that's
Like
thing.
it still gets sick. I mean, it's just addictive little animals attacking animals. Why is that so attractive to me? What
suppose
does it
that's a little
say
sick.
about my consciousness? I was like, oh wow, that's who would win. A leopard and a crocodile. That's who would win. Okay.
All right, but that's not so bad.
Anyway, the idea is you're already in a reality and it's fake.
Right.
You're entering a second reality
And
and
you're
it's
making it a
fake.
sick one. Yeah.
Yeah. And the problem with the ones that are like the sensual ones, then you really get sucked into it and it takes your whole, it takes your whole deep consciousness. And all of these secondary realities are meditations. People who say, I don't believe in meditation, it's a meditation.
Your mind goes deep into it.
Kaustubha told me this one too. He goes, it's the problem with, meditating on, sexuality is because that is your meditation. You can't have the real intimacy with Radha and Krishna if all you're thinking of is sex in this material world.
We're meditating on one thing or another. And when people meditate, like for instance, pornography, you take your mind and you just go deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And when people get addicted to it, it means that they're meditating deeply, daily, again, for hours at a time. You're taking your mind and you it's just a question of meditation is, in one sense, it's just where you take your mind, particularly where you take your mind deeply, and people want to enter into those fantasies, and those fantasies are aided and practically controlled by the images that they're seeing on the screen. And then you fantasize about it. You go deeper and deeper and deeper. If this is how yoga works, is that when you bring your mind to something deeply and you do it regularly, it becomes firmly rooted in your consciousness.
Like
And
if there's a fantasy in the mind, a sexual fantasy in the mind, you have to really dig deep of textures or colors or hair or whatever it is in your mind. You're
details.
digging up. Then you have a magazine and it's even more real. Then you have a video and it's even more real. Then you have artificial intelligence, it's even more real. So they're trying to get it really crystal clear in your mind. That's what we're supposed to be doing when we're meditating. You got to develop. We tell this to sweet baby Krishnaites, all the sweet baby Krishna bhaktas out there, is before we go to bed, we think, what is Krishna wearing? You ever smell a baby?
I have, yeah.
Smell a baby. Ever smell? They smell like a little. They smell delicious. They smell wonderful.
Careful.
So you gotta smell. You gotta picture Krishna, what he's wearing. You gotta smell Krishna. You gotta see Krishna's hair. You gotta see his peacock feather. Is it got 2 little feathers in it? Is it got 3 feathers? Is it 1 feather? How long is his hair? What kind of jewels is Krishna wearing? What kind of bracelets? You gotta get that so crystal clear in your mind. I'm telling all the students to have a picture of Krishna that they either keep by their bed or they print out that they can look at, that it's their most adorable form of Krishna, and you gotta memorize that picture. So when you close your eyes, it's right there in your mind, and that's the last thing you do. And we want to keep that in the same way a sex addict would be deeply in meditation.
Right.
We have to have that meditation in full color, full sensual experience with Krishna. You can smell Krishna. You can hold Krishna. You can feel what his skin is like, and you could feel what his, see the color of his skin.
That will shape our mind. Right?
That will reshape our dented minds.
Right. That's why we're coming full circle, because remember, the first text we read today was text 27, which is said like this is a meditation, right? Before entering the water to rescue the earth, Lord Varaha flew in the sky, slashing his tail. So you're supposed to, in your mind, you're supposed to picture that, right? If we read right over this stuff, but if we weren't living in a world that we're like bombarded by, digital media, bombarded by these screens, then you slow down, you picture that in your mind, you picture the tail, right? And it says that slashing the tail, his hard hairs quivering, those razorback part of the boar, right? It's like it's quivering. His glance was luminous, and he scattered the clouds in the sky with his hooves and his glittering right tusk. You're meant to, like a cinematographer or an animator or something like that they would have to go into meditation on that to recreate that scene. And by providing that verse for us, we're meant to recreate it. We're meant to become our own cinematographer, right? Use our mind and focus it on that image and become absorbed in that image. And that's called meditation, And so these texts are meant to provide that kind of stuff that where we bring our mind to it, it's uplifting, it's purifying, it's and ultimately brings happiness and joy. Whereas we're talking about pornography, it doesn't, that's, in one sense an extreme example, but sometimes it helps illustrate things when we use extreme examples. It brings misery to people, it does not make people happy. It brings no joy, it brings no wisdom into one's life. It ultimately just causes suffering. So it's through these sages, through the sages in the pages of the Bhagavatam, that we get that content to meditate.
Get us out of the cages.
Oh, nice.
Get us out of the cages. The sages of the pages get us out of the cages.
Yeah. Something about
bringing
wages.
us through the higher levels of higher stages of bhakti.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So excuse me. So in any case, that's what we do here daily. That's what you're doing with Sweet Baby Krishna.
That's what we do with japa and puja. Japa is just the same way, but it's an audible samskara, an audible impression. Just like we're hearing sounds regularly. We're hearing glorifications of whatever. Hey, did you see that show? Hey, do you want to go to the races tonight? Hey, the races, people do that up here. Hey, you want to go? We're just talking, and we're getting attracted to things we're talking about. So we're replacing that with the holy name. We're replacing that with bhajans and kirtan. Puja. Mm-hmm. Puja, you're actually decorating the deities, and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to this sound, by the way, we've already if you're new to the show, we've crossed the threshold here. Oh, Krishna, would you like a little cup of water? The first time I saw that, I was like, what the heck? If you're new to puja, when you have a deity, there's little cups, and you give Krishna a little cup of water every day. Why? Because Krishna gets thirsty. And so this may sound bizarre. It's scientific. If you're thinking, oh, my Krishna's thirsty, you are thinking of Krishna as you're caring for Krishna, and that becomes the object of your meditation. If you think that's crazy, pornography is crazier because it's not actually giving you joy. Like worshiping Krishna, giving Krishna a little cup of water gives me great joy. Pornography is not going to give you any joy. You're just going to fall into this shame sinkhole.
And the thing is that giving that cup of water, it's designed by that aspect of that ritual was designed by a sage that understood reality, and that understood is your nature is to serve. Your joy is found through service. So let me give you a meditation that engages, that's harmonious with that, so that and this is the point, so that your mind will be shaped in a way that's harmonious with yourself. Because as long as our mind is shaped one way, like say towards selfishness, and the self is shaped another way, which is towards selflessness, towards kindness, generosity, etc., there's a battle going on within us. And that tension spoils our life. It spoils our happiness. So they're providing a way to reshape your mind. Let's give Raghu a meditation by which his mind will be reshaped in a way that's harmonious with his self. And then he'll become, and we call that like holistic, right? Then like everything starts to work together rather than against each other. That's called yoga. Unity of the mind with the self. That's yoga.
That was a nice mic drop. That's called yoga.
Boom.
Good night, everybody.
Mara.
Kazuras!
Take it away, Mara.
Where are we at? What time is it?
It's time for Mara.
59. It's time, Mara. Do we have any words of wisdom?
We do.
Takeaways for the day?
Yes,
Little
takeaways.
nuggets that we can carry with us in our pocket, digest, nibble on.
Tell me what you think about these nuggets, Raghu.
Or don't.
Or just let the show end, Raghu, and do your dance.
God is sophisticated. You can keep it simple or go deep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
nice, yeah.
God is.
Varaha came to fight, not to cuddle.
That's a tattoo right there.
That's a
With a
shirt,
big
man.
picture of a Rahat like running right at you, like with dust storms coming up behind you.
I'm coming to fight.
I got another tattoo idea. Lord Boar will destroy your ego.
That's a tattoo.
Yeah.
Not.
He'll crush it. He'll crush it. It is. That's a good one.
Sacred text.
Louis thinking about it. He's like, yeah.
Louis like, well, I got
a
no
little
space
for that.
left for tattoos, but maybe my forehead.
Sacred texts are the keys to the universe.
Okay.
Sacred text.
By nature, we are designed to serve.
Mm-hmm.
We're already in a fake secondary reality, and we're all meditating on something.
There you go.
I like that one. That's actually Wisdom of the Sages t-shirt. We're all meditating on something.
Okay.
And that's
Nah, I don't think so. I
no.
don't think
Okay.
so.
We've got shelf loads that we can't sell. Thanks everybody
We're
for
all
joining
meditating on
us.
something.
And thanks for Bhakta Louie, my friend. Always sharing your heart with us. This tonight, 8:30, Sweet Baby Krishna, join us, Patreon members. If you're not a Patreon member, what a great day to become one and support what we do here, because it's a community-supported podcast. So climb on board. Patreon party is happening tonight at 8:30 Eastern Time with Sweet Baby Krishna.
There's also a Bhakti
Also-
Recovery group meeting at 1 o'clock today, and Shloka group meets tonight at 8 p.m. And there's also
This
class
is
with
a
Trevor Vaughn.
Oh,
What?
Wow. So much
This is a
going on
party.
Patreon.
Yeah.
Trevor Vaughn is holding down the asanas, and everybody loves this shloka study class Tuesday nights, right?
Wednesday
New
night.
members to that. Everybody's writing into Mara. I want to join the Shloka
Yeah.
study group. Man. That's what you
Yeah.
meditate.
We're gonna
on.
have a,
meditate on the Shloka.
Volleyball. We're gonna have a inter Zoom volleyball game between
Really?
the shloka group and the Sweet Baby Krishna group.
How about the Bhakti Recovery men's group and the Bhakti Recovery's women's group?
Yeah, let's get them in a volleyball game.
We gotta have anyway. We gotta have like a.
Let's have a picnic. Let's have a picnic
Exactly.
in Central
that's my
Park.
point. Let's have a
Let's
picnic.
have a Central Park picnic.
Oh, now we're
Kirtan
talking. Lou's excited about
picnic.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, Mara's cooking.
We gotta pick a date.
I'm always volunteering, Mara.
I'm down for that.
Let's do it. We need a good day in New York.
Pick a weekend you're free and let's make it happen.
Alrighty. Anyway, thanks everybody. And hey, if you're gonna be at the Jersey Shore, I'm gonna be at Yoga Bohemia on Long Beach Island. Hope to see you guys there. Just check their website. It'll tell you what I'm doing. And Italy's looking good.
I heard
Everything-
it's sold out.
There's one problem with Italy, and that's Mara's not going.
What?